Committee, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. It's CEPTA's pleasure and honor tonight to have Boltz from the Pennsylvania Liberty Alliance as our guest speaker. This is one fabulous organization who is doing some really yeoman's work for you, the taxpayers. I'm not going to steal his thunder. I'm going to introduce Ron Boltz to you and let him do his presentation.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. I'm basically going to talk to you a little bit about our organization. I'm going to show you some slides and pictures of what we've been doing all summer long. And then I'll sort of move into what our plans are going forward to enact HB'SB 76, school property tax elimination. That is and has been since the beginning of Pennsylvania Liberty Alliance our single issue thing. We operate 100% right now for the total elimination of school property taxes. And again, I'll show you what we've been doing to try to achieve that goal and what we're planning on doing going forward. And I'll give you maybe a little bit of updates from the governor candidates that we've been meeting with, as well as where we think 76 is. And then of course we can talk about this referendum that's coming up on the ballot if you're familiar with that. If not, you will be after we're done. So I'll just read you our mission statement here to begin. Pennsylvania Liberty Alliance is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, single-purpose citizens organization dedicated to preserving and protecting our constitutional rights through an aggressive program designed to mobilize public opposition to anti-liberty legislation and mobilize public support for pro-liberty causes. We are one of the 80-plus members of the Pennsylvania Coalition of Taxpayer Associations, who, of course, is the leading advocacy for HB 76. We partner with other groups to work across the state, delivering what we like to refer to as political pain to legislators, because we believe that that's the way to get things done. We don't do lobbying or issue advocacy the way that most groups do. We are not access-based. We don't take pride in having a whole string of phone numbers of legislators, and we don't pride ourselves in being friends with these guys. Now, of course, we are of course courteous to them as well, but we believe the way to get things done is to mobilize the public and get them stirred up, who in turn can contact their legislators, because really at the end of the day, if the only way to really mobilize a legislator to do what you want him to do is to make him fear you by you not voting for them the next time the election comes around. We have campaigns in Senate and House districts in 2017 to eliminate the school property tax. We've been doing this around the state. We also print and deliver tens of thousands of pieces of literature at bulk rates. We do direct mail, we do robocalls, we do media advertisements, we do town halls all across the state, and we do a lot of door-to-door activity. And I'm going to show you a little bit of that right now. We are a 501c4 group, nonprofit. We also are, I'm not proud to say this, but we had to do it, we are also a registered lobby organization in the state of Pennsylvania, so all of our I's are dotted and T's crossed. Everything that we do is on the up and up, and it's legal. We had to do that to, as they say, CYA, cover your butt. So let's start a couple of the things that we were doing this year. Tom McGarrigle, in case you're not familiar with Senator McGarrigle, he came out when he ran and said he was a 76 supporter, actually took his picture with all the other co-sponsors, sent letters out to his constituents saying, yeah, I'm a 76 supporter, I'm with you, and then when the vote came, he voted against 76. And as you know, it was a tie vote, and the current Lieutenant Governor Stack cast a deciding no vote. So we need to go to Senator McGarrigle's district and inform his constituents of his flip-flopping. So that's exactly what we did. Delaware County, this picture was taken, a bunch of our volunteers, that's McGarrigle's district office that this picture was taken in front of. And we do this, that's what the big flip-flop is, by the way, you know, he's the flip-flopper. So we kind of like to have a little bit of fun while we do this as well. So started out, every canvassing event, we usually like to go to the legislator's district office and make a little bit of a scene there and get the troops rallied up and fired up for a day of canvassing. And there's a couple more pictures outside of his office, you know, lined up in front of his office before we go out canvassing door to door. And even this guy right here, this little minion guy, this was a great clip. It was not part of our group. They saw what was going on and came over and were telling about what we're doing here at school property tax elimination. So they kind of joined in the fun as well. This guy is a local guy that's signing the petition. You might have seen him. Dean sent a video of this gentleman out. He was actually, if I believe correctly, he's talking about leaving Pennsylvania. Can you imagine this? Because his taxes in Pennsylvania, he's going to move to New Jersey because taxes over there, property taxes are lower in the area that he's looking at in New Jersey, if you can imagine that. He's in Delaware County. So here's another Pennsylvania Liberty Lines volunteer, that's Jason Baker, talking to a resident down in that area. We have folks that stand out, so they don't like to walk so much, so they stand out in front of things like the post office and so forth. And that's a great place because there's a lot of people coming in and out of there, and usually they're homeowners. There's Ed Bender, if you know Ed, he's one of our board members. He went around to the different businesses. You can see this is a business here, and posts our flyer, our town hall flyers in some of the businesses. I don't know if you guys know John McCartney. One thing that John McCartney has done, NFIB, in case you're not aware, is opposed to SB 76. So John McCartney, he lives in the Lancaster area. He started going around to all the businesses that he saw NFIB stickers on their windows and started going in and telling the business owners, you know, NFIB is opposed to SB 76, would explain it to them. And then they would get all upset, and he said, would you mind if I take your sticker off the window? No, absolutely, go ahead. So he'd take the stickers off and send them back to NFIB, telling NFIB why. So that's the sort of thing that we like to do. Here was our first town hall in Delaware County. We had a little over 100 people in attendance. And that's kind of our protocol. Here's another picture from there, me giving the presentation. We like to go door to door, let people know about what's going on, and then we run ads, and then we hold our own town halls. We invite the legislators there, and that really creates a lot of talk in the neighborhood and puts a lot of pressure on the legislators. It's been a great model so far. And of course, we distribute signs. There's over 200 signs that have popped up in and around that area. You can see there's one across the street there too. So that's what we do to sort of spread the word in a new district that we're going into, and that's how we let the legislators know that we're there. We obtained about 3,000 new petition signatures in Delaware County by doing the door-to-door and these different activities. And contacts and petition signatures, that is the grassroots power. The opposition, the big dollar type deep pocket opposition, their power is writing campaign checks. We don't have that. Our power is you folks, and putting the pressure on the legislators and staying in contact with them, getting email addresses, and that in turn is how we keep in contact with these folks and create the pressure that we need on the legislators. We also print, as I mentioned earlier, tons and tons of literature by the tens of thousands, and we email them. Not only do we hand them out during our campaigns, we email them and direct mail a lot of that stuff all over the state. So here's another weekend starting out. There were 10 of these, by the way, 10 weekends in McGarrigle's district, and they all started out, I believe most of them started out in front of his district office. Here's out in front of him. There's calling him out as being the flip-flopper again. And here you can see him along the road. They were lined up and had all kinds of people blowing their horns with our signs, you know, for school tax elimination. And of course, his staffers are inside the office usually, and they're seeing all of this commotion, and that obviously gets right back to the legislators. Here's more pictures of some of the door-to-door. Shopping centers is another good way to spread the word. That's what we do there. Again, people that don't like to walk, and you don't have to walk very much. So that's very effective. Another picture of a local signing. This gentleman here, Craig, he's one of our volunteers. He comes all the way from Halifax to do this stuff with us. He drives all over the state. He's very dedicated. We're very fortunate to have folks like him and Tammy Keener on the right there that are so into this cause that they dedicate their time to come out and help. And you know, who likes going door to door? I guess some people do, most people don't, but they do it anyway, whether they like it or not, because they need this, you know, they're really interested in getting this issue done. This is a true grassroots effort, and people are sick and tired of the status quo to the point where they're willing to give up Saturdays to do this kind of stuff. here's one of the newspaper ads that we run. Delaware County, the Delco newspaper ad, that's an example of what we do. We advertise our town hall, but what we also do is we speak about the legislator voting no on there, and we also usually give stats about what the foreclosure and sheriff sale rates are in the area that we're in. So we have a bit of truthful advertising there and to show why we're supporting this cause as relentlessly as we are. Just this effort alone, we spent $4,500 in just newspaper ads for the McGarrigle effort to date, $4,500. It's very expensive to advertise. We always do full color. Dean, my vice president, he doesn't like to do things, sort of halfway. He goes for the half-page full color ads because he wants to grab attention, and we want quality product, and that's what we try to put out. There's another presentation, McGarrigle. Now, if you can imagine this, we had our own town hall, and McGarrigle took a lot of heat. And then there were some legislator-sponsored town halls where, believe it or not, I was invited along to give the SB 76 presentation, and McGarrigle was one of them that decided to do it. He decided to have his own town hall, and actually I was brought in to do the SB 76 presentation. But what I believe he tried to do is he tried to stack the deck. He tried to get a lot of opposition to the meeting, and to say, hey, look, here's a lot of people opposed. There were a lot of, I believe, school lobby folks and teachers and so forth that were there to oppose, but the problem is it didn't really quite turn out the way he expected. The folks that were for 76 were probably at least 3-to-1, or maybe even 4-to-1 to those who were, 476 to those who were opposed. So everywhere we go when we do these town halls, once we give the presentation and we get some folks in the room who are neutral on the issue, they overwhelmingly leave in favor of school tax elimination, much to Senator McGarrigle's chagrin. He was not really a happy camper that day. I do not believe. Here's another round of ads that we spent. Then we did a third town hall, our second town hall in McGarrigle's district. And even though he still claimed to be opposed to 76, we now have his attention because the gentleman sitting there in the green shirt on the right, that was one of his staffers who announced himself to make a statement for Senator McGarrigle. So clearly we have his attention now. He's sending staffers to watch our town halls, and that's really what we want. We simply want them to vote yes. That's all. We don't have any personal issues with any of these guys. We just want a yes vote. And if we have to put the pressure on this way to do it, well, then that's what we're going to have to do. Johnstown, we had a town hall out there, and here's an example of the ad we ran out there. It was a little cheaper out there, probably about $1,500 I think we spent on ads there, but we had a great turnout. Here's the crowd. It was mostly standing room only, 140 plus in attendance in Johnstown. So that shows you we were all the way in Delaware County one week, all the way out in Johnstown another week. This was given to a Tea Party group, I believe, in Johnstown. The locals, again, oh, by the way, Senator Langerholt was invited to this. Senator Langerholt was recently elected out there, and he ran on not taking the pension. Guess what the first thing he did when he got sworn in was? He signed up for the pension. So he was supposed to be this, ultra-conservative, Tea Party type candidate. I'm not going to take the pension, and guess what? Well, this group had this town hall, and Langerholt, according to what they're telling us, was actually sort of one of their guys almost. They believed in him. They believed that he was really, truly what he said he was. And they invited him to this town hall, and he was ignoring them, from what I understand, was not giving them an answer. And guess who walked in at the last minute? But Senator Langerholt. And this gentleman right here took a picture of him because he pretty much got up to the microphone during the Q&A and was ranting and raving and said, anybody that doesn't vote for this bill, you need to vote them out. And that's exactly the purpose of all of this. And Langerholt had to sit there and listen to this one after the next after the next after I gave the presentation. And when we offered him the mic, Senator Langerholt, for the first time in history, I saw a politician speechless. He sat there and said, no, I don't have anything to say. So think about that for a second. He didn't even decide to get up and take the mic and politic in front of that crowd. That's just a picture of me. Vicki Blair is this woman on the far right. She is out in the Indiana area, and she's very active with our cause out there. She does a lot of her own work, going to fairs and getting petitions signed out in the western part of the state. And these other gentlemen are from the Johnstown Tea Party. Then we had another town hall, a legislator-sponsored town hall in Pascola's district. This was an ad that she ran for that. So we went down there. That was, Otto, you were there, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, some of you folks were at that one. It was very well attended. Again, this was standing room only. We figured there was about 220 because I think there were 200 chairs out, or maybe just shy of 200, and there were quite a few people standing along the back and along the sides. Here's just a picture. That's Senator Arville on the left, and Boscola Scavello, Jim Rodkey, and then myself. We were on the panel giving this town hall. Again, and this is nice because this draws some media attention when the legislators hold these town halls. Blair County is another one. We went all the way out there. That's Altoona area. We were just out there maybe 2 weeks ago giving yet another presentation. We were up in the Poconos doing one for Mario Scavello. And just last week, I went out to Pittsburgh. You can see me on the second from the left there with Senator Arville. And I went all the way out to Pittsburgh to battle the school, what I call the school lobby. It wasn't actually the school lobby, but the room was nothing but superintendents and school business officials who strongly opposed the elimination of property taxes. But I went out there and pretty much held down the fort, going head to head against a whole room full of them. It was sort of just me and Dave Arville, and the gentleman over to the far left is Fred Sembach. This is Randy Valankovic, Senator Valankovic here on the right. He was a yes vote when the bill was voted on in November. And after he voted yes, the school lobby pounded on him, pounded him in public school meetings from what I understand. And now he's shying away. He's feeling the pressure from the other side. So we've got to bring this guy back our way. This is the way it works, folks. Unfortunately, I'd love to stand here and tell you all that politicians do the right thing or want to do the right thing, or all you have to do is show them the brilliance of SB 76, but that's simply not the way it works. The way it works is who's putting the most heat, who's putting the most pressure, and if this guy fears losing his election for voting for 76, he'll vote against it. If he feels like he's going to lose his election for, voting with it, or vice versa, he'll do whatever he thinks is necessary to get reelected. Unfortunately, in most cases, that's the name of the game. I wish it were different, but sitting down and speaking logically and common sense and going through the issues, that usually doesn't work. It takes this kind of thing to get these really hot button issues across the finish line. Next Thursday, 2 days from now, I will be in Cressona. Luckily, that's like my backyard, and we'll be doing another town hall there. Next week, I will be doing a town hall in Scranton for Representative Haggerty. That will be the third such town hall up in the northern part of the state. What else do we do? Well, because of all of this advocacy, we have kind of built a bit of a reputation for ourselves. We've certainly gotten the attention of many different legislators by doing the door-to-door activity, but we try very, very hard to also be a professional organization. And through this, we have gotten a bit of respect as well, to the point where, as you can see here, I've met with Governor Wolf now twice for hour-long meetings about this issue. And that doesn't really happen very often. I would tell you that this man is not going to make you any promises that he would ever sign SB 76, but I do believe if it landed on his desk, he wouldn't really have much of a choice if it got there before the next election. Post-election, I don't know that I could make that same statement. But if it got there before the election, I guarantee you, I shouldn't guarantee you anything, but my bet would be that he would actually sign SB 76. We are also meeting with the other candidates, the gubernatorial candidates. This is Paul Mango. We met with him. Paul Mango, when he first announced, I don't believe he even knew what SB 76 was. Some folks had started talking to him about it, and from my understanding, once they started talking to him about it, he was immediately opposed. He did not like the idea of eliminating school property taxes. As time went on and he started campaigning across the state, he heard from people, he heard from other organizations, he heard from inside folks that support 76, and all of a sudden, and I also believe there was some polling some polling taking place, and he's seeing that, wow, this really is a big issue to a lot of people. Maybe I better start paying attention to this. So fast forward to our meeting, we had some discussions, and I asked him, after our discussion about 76, he expressed his concerns to me, and I said, well, you know, I understand your concerns, but you may have a choice between either signing it or not, status quo or 76. What are you going to do? He said, well, I would sign it. And I said, good. Will you put that in writing? And I put a petition right in front of his face, and that's a picture of him signing a petition stating, whether you believe him or not is a different story, but he is stating on that petition that he would sign SB 76 if it got to his desk. And of course, this just helps us to also ask the same question of the other candidates that are running for governor. So we did exactly that. We also met with Scott Wagner. Scott Wagner did vote for SB 76 as a senator, but he too publicly has stated many concerns, and it got to the point where we didn't know where Scott stood anymore. So we came to this meeting, and we kind of had a little bit of a back and forth about the issue. He expressed some of his concerns, and the same thing. I said, well, you know, I've got to get you to sign, state, I need something to tell the public that, yes, you're going to sign this if you get it. He said, I don't like to sign things like that. I'm not a petition signer. I don't do things like that. I don't like to make promises like that. And what he did do is he got up and he came over and he looked me in the eye, as you see there, and he was shaking my hand, and he said, not only would I sign 76 if it comes to my desk, he said, I will fight to get it to my desk as governor. And I said, well, Senator, that's great. You telling me that here, but how am I going to tell the folks out there? If I tell the folks out there, yeah, he says he'll sign it, but you wouldn't sign a petition, I don't know that they're going to really think you're honest about that. So he took the petition with him. Last week, or maybe it was a week and a half ago, I got a phone call from him, and he expressed again his reluctance to sign the petition, and he said he's not going to sign it. This morning, I opened up my email, and there was an email from Scott Wagner with a signed petition. So I don't know what happened. There was no explanation. I will be circling around with Scott and ask him where the change of heart come from. I think he just like Mango, he's realizing this is a hot button issue. It's much more, it's polling numbers. It's much more important than a lot of these legislators realize. But I think this polling information, especially with this ballot referendum thing coming up, is showing them that they need to be on the right side of this issue. So to date, we have successfully gotten 2 meetings with the governor and meetings with both candidates that have so far announced. I believe there's a woman also that just announced. We'll try to get in contact with her as well. But we have 2 for 2 with getting governor candidates on board, at least on paper. They are on board with SB 76. So these are the types of things that we're doing. But the end result, why do we go through all this trouble? What's this all about? Well, really that's what it's all about. If you see there, Senator Rob Teplitz is no longer in office because, let me just state right up front, our organization does not endorse candidates. Our organization does not write campaign checks. Our organization does not even tell you who to vote for or who not to vote for. But what our organization does do is look at voting records and inform constituents of legislators' voting records. And we get legislators on the record as to where they stand on these issues, and we spread the word, and we spread the word quite vigorously. The end result was the voters in Mr. Teplitz's district who vehemently opposed, arrogantly I would say, opposed SB 76, decided that maybe the alternative candidate was a better choice after the alternative candidate took us up on our offers to attend our town hall meetings to express his views on school property tax elimination. And it drew a lot of media attention, and there is the man who unseated Mr. Teplitz, that's John DeSanto, who today, as of today, is still a very strong supporter of SB 76. So that's the end result of what we're trying to do here. We're trying to inform the voters and give them the education they need, if this is an important issue to them, that they need to get out and make their voices heard on election day. So going forward, what we're planning on doing is continuing in Mr. McGarrigle's district, And we are also going to be up in the Scranton area. Senator Blake is up there, and he is a strong no vote on SB 76. And he's been a little bit of a problem with us up there. But lo and behold, there is another candidate up there who is, actually he's not a candidate, he's a current seated representative. These folks are, Blake is a Democrat, by the way, if that makes any difference to you, and this other representative is a Democrat also. His name's Kevin Haggerty. Kevin Haggerty is a very strong SB 76 supporter, to the point where Mr. Blake, who really opposes SB 76, from my understanding, is running a primary opponent against his fellow Democrat because of this issue. So we were up in the Scranton area trying to spread the word about SB 76, and I understand that now Mr. Blake is going to have a primary opponent, again, on this issue, and he probably might also even have a general election opponent. So Mr. Blake is going to have a lot of explaining to do if we do our job right, and we get into that area, and we spread the word about 76, and we fire these folks up. And that's our goal. We want to get up into that district, we want to spread the word, educate the folks, and then they're going to decide. They're going to have two chances to decide whether or not they want to keep Senator Blake, whether or not this issue is important to them. So one other thing that we're doing just this morning, to give you a little heads up, you all familiar with Peg Luxick? You know Peg, the Common Core guru in Pennsylvania? Peg has come a long way on this legislation and is now at the point where she is very, very much supportive of this for many different reasons, which I won't really go into now. We have been talking with Peg, and she is looking to partner with us in this effort. And what we're planning to do, if we can raise enough funds and revenue, we're going to do radio ads where Peg will be the person speaking. She will introduce herself as the spokesperson in the radio ad and say something along the lines of, "This is Peg Luxick and the Pennsylvania Liberty Alliance, and here's why, basically, I support SB 76, and we're going to talk about 30 and 60-second radio ads in targeted districts across the state. So that's pretty exciting for us. That's very, very exciting. Peg is a very well-spoken, very good representative of not only the Common Core issue, I believe she's going to be an excellent, excellent representative of the property tax elimination issue as well. She very much gets it, especially coming from the education side of this issue. So that's pretty much what we've been doing. There's a lot more that goes on. I'm a very busy person. We all do this 100% volunteer. When I go out to Pittsburgh or to here, we don't even reimburse ourselves for our expenses. When Dean prints up all of that literature at his office at his own cost, whatever donations we get does not go to reimburse any of that stuff. So that's our own contribution to this cause. We feel it's more than worthwhile. So every bit of donation money that we get goes 100% into advertising, town halls, and hopefully these radio ads going forward. So we found it to be very, very effective. Our name is becoming more and more well known across the state. The legislators know who we are. And again, we have that, I believe, we're trying to find that right mix of not being sucked into the access. We're not about that. We have the right mix of putting the pressure on these folks, keeping our distance, not getting too close to them, but yet also maintaining a professional side by doing these presentations and going around showing folks that we do know exactly what we're talking about. So where does SB 76 stand right now? Well, we're told that, again, just like Randy Milankovic, there are some other senators, quite a few actually, unfortunately, who are feeling the heat from the school lobby side. When I say school lobby, that ranges anywhere from the PSEA, the PSBA, PASBO, which is the school business officials. All of these organizations, every one of them is opposed to this. I can stand here all night and tell you what their talking points are, but the real reason they oppose it, we all know, they don't want to lose that ability to just raise your taxes a little bit. That is such a bailout. You are their bailout, and they don't ever want to lose control of that. When they talk about this will result in the loss of local control, that's nonsense from the school board's perspective, other than they will lose the ability to tax you out of your home. And it will be put on a dime, and they don't like it. So they are out there obviously strongly opposing this bill. So they've been successful at peeling away some of our previous supporters because they do have deep pockets and they have some pretty rotten tactics, in my opinion. You know, they bring these legislators into public school meetings and then just excoriate them. We saw at least one school sending flyers home with children, telling parents to oppose SB 76. So they're using not only our tax dollars to oppose this legislative effort, they're using our children as a courier service to get the message out, to spread their propaganda. So this is kind of what we're up against. So we're fighting back, we're not giving up. I believe that the vote is what matters. You can tell me you're going to vote against it, but go and do it. That might result in a different outcome when you know now you're going to have to face the heat from your constituents. So our goals with 76 are, I don't know if it's going to happen in the fall, but at some point we need to force another vote to get these guys on record. That's what it's all about, and to apply enough pressure, and hopefully we can get rid of a couple of them between now and the vote, and bring in some new supportive fresh members into the Senate, and also possibly into the House as well. The referendum that's coming up, are you all familiar with the referendum and what it does? Basically what it does is currently there is the homestead exclusion that, as written, allows up to 50% reduction of the median assessed value of your home for property tax purposes. Right now, none of you are getting a 50% reduction in your property taxes anyway. This was a scheme that was brought about, and they let the schools decide whether or not to shift from property taxes to other local taxes to give you up to a 50% of median assessed value discount on your property taxes if you follow that. It never happened. The gambling revenue is driven out via the homestead exclusion currently, but of course you know that that's nowhere near 50% of your tax bill. It's, you know, $100. Maybe if you get 200, you're lucky, I believe. So it doesn't amount to much. So what this referendum vote would do is would increase from the 50% of median assessed value to 100% of assessed value. So that's what you will be voting on, whether or not to change current law from 50% to 100%. Now it's important to understand that in and of itself, the day after the election, if you vote this up, your school property taxes are not going to go away. Nothing will change for you. Nothing. But what this does do, we are told, is allow the legislature to write a piece of legislation to now potentially eliminate school property taxes for primary residences only. So you understand SB 76 eliminates all property taxes, school property taxes, for everybody. That includes commercial properties, vacation homes, every property. Because right now, constitutionally, you cannot eliminate for just homes and not commercial properties. So their goal, their stated goal here is to split that up so we can now possibly eliminate school property taxes for just your primary residence. That's what they say the stated goal here is, and that's why they claim they are running this referendum. Now, I've got some skepticism as to whether or not that's possible with follow-up legislation. We're working with some legislators to look into this. I'm not so sure that what they say can be done. They insist that it can't. But at the end of the day, this is what it boils down to. In my opinion, you, as a voter, need to vote yes on this referendum, even though the day after the election it really won't do anything for you. And the reason you need to vote yes, in my opinion, is simply this. I've been in Harrisburg, dealing with these guys for a long time. I know how they operate. If you vote no, if the voters go out to referendum and say, you know what, we're going to reject this, just give us 76, and we're going to vote no on this. What's going to happen is the legislators are going to come back and they are going to say, well, look, we gave the voters the choice. Do you or do you not want school property tax elimination? And the voters said no. Therefore, it's going to set not only any effort to eliminate for only home primary residences back, it's going to set SB 76 back a great deal, in my opinion. In other words, it will be used as a referendum. The legislators will use your no vote against you and say, hey, you had the chance and you voted no. Therefore, we're not going to take up this issue. That is, in my opinion, what will happen, and that's the danger of voting no on this referendum. So I'm encouraging everybody here, when you go out to vote, vote yes on the referendum question to raise from the 50% median assessed value to 100% assessed value. And then we are going to use that as our referendum to go back to Harrisburg and say, look, the voters spoke. We said yes, we want school property tax elimination. Now give it to us and pass SB 76. And we will now have that hammer and that tool to beat them over the head and say the voters have spoken. Because I guarantee they will use it the opposite way if it gets voted down. Mark my words. Now, of course, if they try to give us a garbage bill to fund this thing, well, we're going to be there. We're going to be there to make sure you're all aware of it and ask you to contact the legislators and vote against it. But we're kind of at a point right now where we don't have any choice, in my opinion, but to vote yes. And I just heard, I think earlier, the unions are now, the teachers' unions are out there rallying their troops to vote against the referendum. So what does that tell you? They're worried about what might come down the road. They don't even want to see school property taxes eliminated even for just primary residences at all. They don't want to give you anything. They don't want to lose any of that taxing ability, period whatsoever, end of story. So you folks have to make up your own mind. I know how I'm going to vote. And that pretty much concludes my presentation. If you have any questions on 76 or the referendum or what we do, fire away. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, when I read the referendum, I kind of took it a different way, that if this passed, it's a proposed constitutional amendment, and that doesn't require the local boards to non-tax or tax. It's kind of open-ended, and I looked at it as like an end run around 76.
It kind of is. I will tell you that it is, but it isn't. They are doing what legislators always do, and they're looking for the easy way out. And they're looking for a win for not only themselves, to pat themselves on the back by saying, hey, look, we voted to give you this referendum. But I do know that the driving force, the legislators themselves that were behind trying to go this route, I think they had good intentions. Now, of course, you know what they say about good intentions. The road to hell is made with good intentions. But I think those that are behind this honestly are trying to get some sort of relief, significant relief, and elimination for primary residences. I think they feel they're stressed. Some of them are as stressed as we are about 76 and about the politics that are being played there. And I think they're viewing this as having a much better chance of passing. Because if the bright side, let me just tell you the pros and cons. Let's assume for a minute that what they say they can do, they can do. Let's assume that if we vote this up on November 7th, they write legislation that can permanently eliminate school property taxes for your primary residence, but it would leave property taxes in place for commercial properties and vacation homes and that sort of thing. It would only be for primary residences. A second home would not qualify, so you follow what I'm saying. The downside is, of course, there's not nearly the economic benefit to the state that 76 would bring by eliminating property taxes even for commercial properties, making the state a KOC zone, and we believe that would be a huge advantage to SB 76. That's the downside of doing it only for homeowners. And the other downside is, depending on your point of view, leaving the school the ability to levy those taxes on businesses as well, because they're not going to show any mercy to the businesses, in my opinion. The bright side of it is to eliminate for homes only. If they could do that, requires only, when I say only, but approximately 60% of the replacement revenue that's SB 76. So in other words, SB 76, if you're familiar, raises the income tax, right? And it raises the sales tax from 6 to 7 and expands it to new items and services. We wouldn't have to raise the PIT as far as SB 76 does to completely eliminate for only primary residences. The other advantage would be you can probably get 100% elimination this way right out of the box. SB 76 retains a little bit of a property tax to pay off existing debt service. And then once that's paid off, then you get full elimination. But you would still have a little bit of a property tax left there to pay that debt service. So there's two advantages to this, and of course there's the big disadvantage of, well, the tax still remains in place for some. And You know, that to me could be problematic going forward. But keep that in mind that they're saying they can do it from the state. They can eliminate it for primary residences only if we pass this. So you need to decide for yourself if that's going to be something that appeals to you. But I'm asking you to decide that after November 7th, because again, your vote on November 7th doesn't really do anything except maybe allow that possibility to happen at some point down the road. But if you vote against it, it's going to be used against you even for 76. It's going to hurt SB 76 because they're going to tell you, look, you voted against school tax elimination when you had the opportunity. Therefore, we're going to wipe our hands from it, because that's what they want you to vote. They want you to vote it down, so they don't have to address the issue anymore. So I think we need to turn it around on them and vote it up.
Yes, the school administrations and the unions consider our houses their bank accounts.
Right.
You should also be aware, and if you're talking to the legislators, a lot of school boards right now, obviously they know something's going to come down because they are driving up debt now
That's right.
tremendously across the state.
That's right. There's another thing that I found out from going to school board meetings in different districts. Superintendents and even school business officials are actually pressuring school boards into not only raising taxes as high as they can, because remember, SB 76 replaces dollar for dollar existing property tax revenue. So their goal now is, well, if 76 passes, we need to jack up property taxes as high as we can, because we're going to get that back. And, as Otto said, take out debt, because under 76, it freezes their debt and does not allow them to take out any more unless they go to voters for approval at referendum. And so they're trying to get ahead of that in case 76 would pass.
And they still tax on that debt.
Right, and there would still be a remaining property tax on that debt. Right.
So as far as businesses still being taxed, you know, if this all goes like it's supposed to, then apartment buildings are businesses, right?
Yes, I believe, I have to look into existing, I think I know where you're going. Would they be exempt or not? Is that what you're going to ask?
Well, in just going door to door, we know, like when we go to someone's door that says, oh, I don't pay taxes, and we have to educate them and say, well, you
sort of
pay
do,
through
right.
your landlord, you
Right.
know. But I was just wondering, they or the landlords are still going to have to pay the tax if
Yes.
apartment buildings are businesses.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
apartment buildings would still be subject to the sales tax. Or the property tax, I'm sorry. Yeah.
So for older people that might be moving out of their homes and into apartments because it's cheaper to live in apartments, are actually maybe moving into a situation like they're not, well, they are
They could.
paying it.
Maybe though, if they had their home's property tax, their primary residence school property tax eliminated, maybe it would be affordable now for them to stay in.
Oh, I believe so.
And maybe
Yeah,
then they'll have to go to that apartment or sell or
Exactly.
drive the state or whatever the case may be.
for sure.
So again, that's pretty much the lay of the land as I see it right now. 76 is still the ultimate answer, in my opinion, and we're going to still pursue SB 76, the full line, because I believe that if you're going to go halfway, you might as well go all the way and get all of the benefits of SB 76. But back to your original question, yes, this is sort of a way for them to try to skirt 76 and take the easier way out. It will be up to you at that point to decide whether that's acceptable to you or not. If you can get your home's school property tax eliminated 100%, would you accept that or not? And, you know, we may all be faced with that decision. But that's not even going to be a decision you're going to have as a possibility if we vote down on November 7th, the referendum. And again, I'm going to stress that I believe that if we vote it down, it's going to hurt 76. If you're saying, I don't even want that, I want 76, well, unfortunately voting this down, that's going to hurt that effort as well. So, Bill.
Quick question. If the referendum passes, I don't see how some businesses, good-sized businesses, are wanting to accept that.
Right.
Because what's going to happen is they're going to feel more of the pain because the schools, as you said, are going to pass it on to them and jack up theirs. So if it's any size company or whatever, this is a losing proposition for companies to move out of the state because they're bearing the brunt of increasing property taxes altogether. Either you do it for all or you do it for none.
Right, and there's an interesting sort of paradigm there too, because remember that the Chamber of Commerce is one of our biggest opponents for 76. And we've been trying to, sort of say to the Chamber, look, we're going to get some sort of property tax legislation in the state of Pennsylvania because there's just too much pressure. It's going to happen. And you might like 76 a whole lot better than you're going to like the alternative. And here we are, it's shaping up like the alternative could be, they're excluded completely. So will that help 76 or hurt? So if this thing passes, and there's a very real possibility that we could get elimination for homeowners only and not businesses, they would still be paying that property tax. Does that help to bring them onto our side for 76? I would hope so. I would hope that that would maybe wake up some of the business owners and start putting pressure on the chamber and the NFIB and telling them to wake up and get with it. Because we don't want to be left out in the dark here. What are you guys doing? Why are you opposing 76? It's the better option of the two for us at this point. Right. So that might be an advantage as well as a way to help SB 76. But at the very least, I don't hold any grudges towards well, of course, the business community. A lot of them support 76, the actual businesses, especially the small businesses.
Yes.
We find that everywhere we go. It's the chamber that's deaf to them, and NFIB that's been deaf to them. But I would say that if it's going to go this route, and we're going to try to attempt a bill for elimination for homeowners only, we absolutely need to protect the businesses by putting some kind of limitation on the school's ability to just tax our businesses out of our state too. So we'll be definitely working towards those ends as well. In fact, I talked to a couple people today about exactly that. We've got to build some protections into any proposed legislation to do just homestead, farmstead elimination type bill. And I'm going to say again that I'm not standing here telling you that eliminating for homes is even possible. I have a whole list of reasons why I think we're going to run into roadblocks, and I don't want to say them, especially on videotape, because then the opposition is going to pick up my own talking points against that effort and use them against us. But I do have concerns, and there are some things that are going to need to be addressed. But we are working with legislators begrudgingly because we want SB 76. But if they're insisting on going this route to get around 76, I think we have a responsibility to at least, we pushed the envelope so far to this point, we have the responsibility to at least make sure that it's going to be a workable bill, these homeowners get elimination, and we can try to protect our businesses from ridiculous property tax increases going forward. So there you have it. That's what we're up to, and I hope you all decide to help us out in the effort in any way, shape, or form that you can. Thank you very much for listening.
The Southern Taxpayers Association, as the Board of Directors decided to make a donation to the efforts of the Pennsylvania Liberty Alliance. Ron, would you accept this check on behalf of the Southern Taxpayers Association?
Absolutely would, and thank you very much. I guarantee you that every penny of this will go 100% towards the cause. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah, Ron, you mentioned Peg Watson.
Yes.
And we had her here in
Yes.
September.
Yeah.
And she came and spoke, and I thought she did a fabulous job. More so beyond education.
Right.
And the freedoms of her liberty, and she's a terrific lady. I'm glad you got her involved.
No question. We're so excited to have Peg involved in supporting not only this, not only 76, but also our organization in particular. It's an honor. It really
Well,
is.
she gets it. She's been down to your place. I was
Yes.
down there to have
Yes,
her.
she's been down. I've seen her. I mean, I've seen quite a few of her. I brought her, when I was a school board member in Pine Grove, I brought Peg in to do the Common Core presentation at the school. And that created a little bit of controversy for me, but it turned out well. And for those who did decide to show up, when I say those, I mean for the teachers that did decide to show up, I think they after hearing her, they actually, said, wow, she's all right, and what she says makes sense. And this isn't what we thought it was going to be. And so it was definitely worthwhile.
Ladies and gentlemen, we do appreciate this man coming out. He came a long way, Pine Grove, Schuylkill County, so it's a long way to come and give us this presentation, so please, again. And with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. Bill Tuckey is seconded by Ed Hausman. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,